here on the dyno today, and we're doing kind of a different video. I haven't done one of these in a while, but it is a product comparison. And what we're comparing is a stock 2019 STI top mount intercooler to a Grimmspeed upgraded top mount intercooler. And we're gonna see if on a stage 2 plus, whatever you want to call it, car, if it's gonna make any kind of horsepower difference. So here we go. So for all intensive purposes, this car is tuned. So we're gonna do a poll real quick and see where we end up for horsepower. And this is with the factory top mount intercooler. You're gonna hear the fans whirring like crazy here. So, but here we are. This is a 2019 STI factory top mount. This car has a Cobb SF intake, it has a Cobb downpipe, NVIDIA catback exhaust. It has a Turbo Smart fuel pressure regulator to help with that little bit of stumble that we see in a lot of these cars. It has injector dynamics, 1050X injectors, good injector. Otherwise, this car is stock, so this is what we call like a stage 2, 3, something in that ballpark, who knows. And then right here I have what's going into the car, which is the Grimmspeed Top Mount. So here we are at SAE corrected numbers, 292.93 horsepower and 319.17 foot-pounds of torque. Boost peaked at 19.2 pounds, tapers off at red line to about 14.35. That's going to be important because we're going to see what changes there. Air-fuel ratio, unfortunately my wideband dropped out on the car for whatever reason. It's really kind of chilly today with it's raining outside, so there's a lot of condensation coming through the wideband. As you can see, there's a literal puddle in front of it. That's all just condensation out of the, it's essentially, it uses an air venturi, and so it creates some suction, which sucks a little bit of the exhaust gas and then reads it with the sensor. When it gets wet, it has a hard time working. So that's just from condensation in the air. But anyway, I had already done a bunch of other polls that were, you know, essentially identical to that poll. So that's the numbers we have. We're gonna go ahead and install this top mount and then see what the power difference is without any tune changes. And then I'm gonna see if I can make some tune changes to get a little bit more potentially, or maybe not. Got the old intercooler out, super simple job, just had to unbolt some things and then yank it out. Still fully emissions intact car. Downpipe has a catalytic converter in it. We still have turbo generator valves. We still have the air pump and everything else. Pretty basic setup. Oh, mod I didn't mention earlier, Grimmspeed electronic boost control solenoid. Not really required on this setup. I've gone into that in previous videos, but anyway, people like them, so that's fine. Can go into this Grimmspeed top mount. It's well packaged, nice USA made, good stuff. Phone. Here's a stencil if you wanted to spray paint Grimmspeed on it, but otherwise it's pretty. Oh, and you get a couple of nice license plate frames. The hardest part of this is actually this part. I'm not going to be installing this on the dyno today. That's the air scoop here. We're not going to use that since we're just doing pulls. Then after I'm done on the dyno, I'll go ahead and put that on. But I wanted to try to get back-to-back pulls as quick as possible. Here is the gasket for the blow-off valve. These are to the T and the fitting there, and this hose I'm going to assume is for replacing this crossover pipe. I hadn't taken it off, wasn't sure if it reused it on this one or not, but looks like it does have to come off, so we'll go ahead and pull that. And yeah, looks like this particular unit reuses the factory Y pipe, so we're going to need to pull the Y pipe off the other intercooler and get that installed. Digging further into what's in the box, it does come with new Y pipe gaskets. Never ever reuse these. They're a one-time use kind of deal. As you can see, they get all torn up when you're taking them off. But besides that, they have like a metal layer inside of them, and then on the outside it's this weird like it's kind of like a rubberized material. And after you crush them, they don't ever really go back. So always make sure you replace these if your intercooler doesn't come with it. Same thing with the blow-off valve gasket. Luckily, Grimmspeed provided them. The only thing I would say Grimmspeed didn't provide that would be nice, and they probably do in some other kit that has the new couplers, but the couplers are going to be reused. So we're going to reuse this factory elbow and then the factory kind of janky throttle body coupler that I hate. It's like a hardened rubber. But the clamps, these are split back worm drives. They're pretty much the worst of the worst. So I would replace these with a better clamp. Not a T-bolt, but a better clamp. I'll show you what that is here in 1 second. Alright, so you can see the one clamp has a split in the back, the other one doesn't. This is a Norton USA clamp. These have way more clamping force. You can see they clasp them around the top, these little pins on the side, versus being split back clamshell design. So much better clamp. These are going to last way longer, they're going to clamp better, give you better clamping force, and keep your intercooler where it's supposed to be, keep your couplers from blowing off. Now, if you've ever wondered why we recommend an air oil separator, this car only has 30,000 miles on it. And look at how much oil and gunk is in this intercooler Y pipe. That all comes out of the turbo. And this all just gets ingested by your motor. When you ingest oil into the combustion chamber, you significantly lower octane. And when you lower octane, you knock. And when you knock, you break stuff. So I'm going to clean this out, but definitely put an air oil separator on your car. It will make a world of difference in this kind of buildup. Alright, a little bit of a pet peeve here. So as you can see, these two come together, and they're actually trying to equalize the length on them. But they give you a T. You know, it'd be nicer to have a Y for this particular year. I know why they didn't, because this intercooler fits a lot of years. And same thing with this one here. It'd be nicer if we had an elbow. I'm gonna have to like bend it over. It's gonna work, but it's not the most ideal. And the other pet peeve, these are a 13mm head. They give you these bolts instead of the factory 12mm head that came on it, which, you know, again, not a huge deal, but on a Subaru, there's nothing on the car from the factory that's a 13, so when you're building them and you're working on them all day, having to swap your socket out just kind of hurts the workflow a little bit. Not a lot, but it's just a small pet peeve. Use the same or similar hardware. I'm not actually sure why they supplied new hardware, black oxide versus the factory. Factory hardware on Subarus is really good. I wouldn't be replacing it unless there was a reason, but they supplied it, so I replaced it. This wasn't really intended to be an install video, but these little ring clamps they put on the newer Subarus are a pain in the butt. If you have a pair of pliers like this, it's going to make life a lot easier. You can kind of grab around the edge and twist it, and it lets you get a little bit more tension on there to try to pull them off. And then once they come off, once you get them off, you can then pull the ring clamp off much easier and get that out of there. But trying to get the ring clamps off while it's still on the pipe is darn near impossible. Now there are all kinds of clamps you can use. We prefer these Oetiker kind. You can take them off if you have the right tool. You have to crimp them with a special tool, and they're only a one-time use. But for something like this, it's not really ever going to come off again after we put it on. They work pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and just, I think I'm gonna do it this way. No. Yeah, we'll do it this way here. Yep, that'll work. So clamp, fitting, clamp, fitting, etc., etc. These clamps aren't super hard to install. You just have to have the right pair of pliers for it. You just put the pliers on it, get the clamp where you want it, and then you squeeze. And voila, clamped. Oh, that's a chunky boy. All right. Clamp positioned down here. This is one of the best tools for doing any kind of installs like this. It's a hooker. You're a hooker. No, it's great for trying to convince these couplers to go where you want them to go. Pretty similar, almost identical pulls, in fact, 292 to 293, a hair less torque. This is probably just because the motor was a little bit colder on this pull. Realistically, the top mount didn't increase the power at all. We didn't have any additional boost, so we're gonna see if this thing will take a little bit more up top. We're pretty close to maxed out on the wastegate duty cycles here. You can see I'm targeting 16.8 would be great. We're hitting, you know, down here 14.09. So I'm gonna try to cram the last little bit of duty cycle in up top here. I don't know why. This is the base for the Cobb. This bugs me. So this is the new Cobb Fancy Maps, the next gen, which is what we use as the base, and their scaler is just kind of weird. Anyway, so we start dropping boost off somewhere around 4,700. So we're gonna come in here. Here's 40. Look at that. It's like they know when the boost starts to drop off. So we're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna do 90. These don't really effectively do a whole lot after 90%. You know, they really don't do much. So we're just gonna see what happens at 90%. I don't think it's gonna make much of a difference, but we'll see. Okay, we got all the squiggly lines here. Let me clear off the non-changed pull. So now we have non-top mount versus top mount. 292 is the factory top mount. I'm up to 295. I made a pretty massive torque increase. We're running more boost down low. I went up to about 20 and a half instead of 19 and a half. So you can see just everywhere we're making a little bit more boost. And I mean, I'm tapped up top. We can't make any more. So with very small tune changes, we picked up a bunch of torque. Where it makes peak power, we're not really making any more boost, so we're not making much more power, unfortunately, but that's what we got. So is this top mount worth the $1,000 or so on a stock turbo car? I mean, you make the decision. Got more torque. That's about it. Anyway, that's what I had for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed kind of watching an install video. You know, you can throw all the parts on a car that you want, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make more power. Parts compound off of each other, so you have a bigger top mount, but if you didn't need it, then you might not have wanted to install it. Now this is a 2019, which has the largest factory top mount. All the VA cars, so like 2015 and up, have a very large, very efficient factory top mount on them for the STI model. And so there's not a lot of reason to do another top mount on these unless you're seeing a significant increase in boost. Now, if we were able to hold 18, 19, 20 pounds out the top, then we'd see a big difference. But being that we can't because it's a factory turbo, this is what we get. So thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video, and I will try to do more just like this one in the future. If you have any ideas for what you want to see in these videos, go ahead and drop a comment and I'll be sure to respond. Thanks for watching.